Ynsinare. This summer I spent I spent my time doing research at Hunter College in the Department of Psychology with my mentors, Dr. Thomas Bruce and Dr. Violetta McDonald. Behavioral observations in cichlid fish, also known as Tilapia britanni. So I'd like to begin with a little background on neuroethology, because most of the basis of what I've been doing has roots in neuroethology. It's basically combining both neurobiology, which is looking at single cells, and ethology, which is more of a whole animal approach. Neuroethology focuses on natural and biologically relevant behavioral patterns, which include investigations of the animal in its natural habitat. The ultimate goal of neuroethology is to understand neural mechanisms underlying the behavior of the animal, because it is difficult to examine the entire behavior in an animal since it consists of many individual elements. Specific behaviors are focused on to simplify the observation. In the lab I worked at, we looked at two different kinds of fishes, goldfishes and a different type of fish called cichlid fishes, which brings me to this slide. Cichlids are basically a type of species, that type of fish species that live in Lake Tanganyika in Africa. Their social system is composed of about 2,000 teleost fishes, where 10 to 30% of their social system contains dominant fish. Dominant fish are the fish that are either bright blue or bright yellow. These dominant fishes are the ones that own territory, they defend their territory. They show more aggressive behavior towards the other fishes in their social environment. If you look at the two bottom pictures, the one to your left would be a non-territorial fish. They have more of a pale color, more sand-like color, they're smaller. And the one to the right is a female. As you can see, their mouth is enlarged, their stomach is also enlarged. So my research question purpose, territorial males can and do change colors, which may signal a change of internal state and/or behavioral strategy. Territorial males of both yellow and blue color express aggressiveness towards each other, as well as towards non-territorials and females. However, is there any difference between the aggressiveness of the yellow territorial and blue territorial? And the reason that I'm trying to figure out the difference between the yellow and blue territorials is because they do show aggressiveness, and there has to be a reason why one fish is yellow and the other fish is blue. In previous research, it's been made that certain hormone levels of each fish trigger different levels of success in how they mate. As an example, I've used the blue Icaria to show how the aggressive behavior can be displayed. A lateral display, you can see that the fish are aligned next to each other. This is the point where bright colors would be expressed in each fish. B is circling. During circling, the mouths are more enlarged. C, tail beating. You can see that the tail of one fish is being it's closer to the mouth of the other one. So D, mouth grasping. One fish would basically grasp the mouth of another fish. E, mouth pulling. So each fish would basically pull each other as both of them grasp each other's mouths. And then F, this is the point of defeat, when one fish, in this case it would be the fish in the front, has defeated you can see that their fins are closed and their fins are closed and they're about to swim off. At this point, that fish would also lose their color a bit. The entire behavioral repertoire of an animal can be quantified. The dissection of the behavior of the animal is called the ethogram. So if the behavioral repertoire of an animal can be quantified, then how can aggressive behavior be quantified? And so this is when you would use the ethogram to observe fishes. I'm not done yet. So we use an ethogram to basically observe fishes and to record the observations that to basically record the behaviors of each fish that we observe. Each fish is observed for about 10 minutes alone in a tank room with minimal movements by the observer and anybody else that is in the room. So I guess the most important categories to look at while looking at the male territorial fishes is the chase, bite, poke category, the carousel, mouth-to-mouth, the border threat, and threat display. Chase, bite, poke is basically when a territorial fish would chase, bite, or poke another fish, and this is also a method of scaring the other fishes away while they are defending their own territory, which in the fish tanks that I observed are basically terracotta pots. They would use those terracotta pots to also bring female fishes in order to mate with them on the flat surface. Carousel would be mouth-to-mouth grasping when they would pull each other. Border threat would be when they would go around their, basically circling their territory as a threat to other fishes to basically so that the other fishes don't come near their territory. And threat display is basically scaring away the other non-territorial fishes in a more aggressive way. The fleeing category is used for non-territorials. This is a completed ethogram. Another important part of this ethogram is the DI, which is to your furthest right. The DI is dominance index, and basically we would add up the tally marks from the chase, bite, poke, carousel, border, threat, and threat display categories, and then subtract the fleeing from the first four that I just mentioned. The first four categories that I mentioned are positive characteristics, which would make a fish more dominant, and then the fleeing would be negative characteristics. So that's the reason why they are subtracted. As you can see, the second fish that I observed is a non-territorial, and its dominance index is -15. Once the dominance index numbers are calculated, they are put into an Excel spreadsheet, and then we reconstruct the graph of, like, over time, how dominant a fish has been, basically how aggressive their behavior has been. The x-axis shows time, the y-axis is the dominance index, and just an example, I'm going to follow fish 10 and 16. If you start from the very, very left of fish number 10, the blue one, you can see that it started off dominant and generally it became more dominant, which basically means that it showed more aggressiveness in its behavior. And there came a point where its aggressiveness basically decreased, and so the DI number decreased. And actually it became non-territorial, it became non-dominant in the social system that it was in. And then in the end it's a non-territorial. For fish 16, which is the green one, it started off as a non-territorial, non-dominant fish, and then it gradually became more and more aggressive, and at a certain point it owned a territory, and so it defended its territory, and it ended up being a dominant fish. For my future work, so basically a DI number is not sufficient enough to determine the differences between yellow territorial and blue territorial fishes. So what we would like to do in the future is to separate further the individual elements of the aggressive behavior. So instead of looking at just the DI number, we would be comparing a certain category such as the chase by pull category between two territorial fishes in order to determine which one is more aggressive between the blue and yellow. References, acknowledgements.